Hello, this is the Mass and Change pre-lab video. When we talk about mass, we're talking about a physical property that describes matter. And in this case, it's the amount of matter that's present. We can measure this. The base unit is kilograms, or we can use grams, which is what we'll be using today. Since this is the Mass and Change lab, we also need to look at changes. These can be either physical or chemical. Physical would include something like an ice cube melting. Chemical change might be like a fire or some kind of chemical reaction. So our question is this: what happens to the mass of a system during a change? So to investigate this, we need the total mass before a change, and we need the total mass after a change. And then we need to find the difference between those two, if any. There are chemicals and flames in use in this experiment. Eye protection is required for this lab. The first experiment is aluminum foil and copper 2 chloride solution. You'll also need a beaker and an electronic balance. Start off with a medium-sized piece of aluminum foil, and you're going to find the mass using the balance. In the beaker, you're going to obtain about 20 milliliters of solution. It's an approximate amount, not an exact amount. Again, find the mass of the beaker and the solution. Once you mix the two together, wait for the change to stop, and then find the total mass. In your packet, you're going to find some data tables to write down your information for today. You'll see, for example, the mass of the foil, copper chloride, and the product here. The total mass of everything before the reaction, highlighted in red, is the initial mass, and then the product in beaker is the final mass. The change in mass is going to be the difference between those two, and we represent that with delta M, the delta, the triangle shape, meaning change. After you've completed the first experiment, you can move on to the remaining experiments. Experiment 2 will require some ice cubes. You're going to fill a beaker partially full of ice, find the mass, and then allow it to melt. And we'll see if the mass changes while the ice melts or not. This may take a few minutes, so you may set it aside and come back to it later in class. Experiment 3 will use some water and part of an Alka-Seltzer tablet. You can see, start off finding the mass of the tablet, about 20 milliliters of water in a beaker, then mix the two together, wait for the change to stop, and find the mass. The last experiment is burning steel wool. You'll need steel wool, some plate glass, and a 9-volt battery. To start out, set the plate glass on the balance. This will help protect our balances so that we don't ruin them while burning things. Start out, measure the steel wool, find the mass, and then you're going to touch it with a battery. Touch it with both terminals of a 9-volt battery. You can see in the picture below what the effect should be. It should ignite in those different places and burn a little bit. And then we want to find the mass after combustion is complete. Once you're done, make sure everything is cleaned up, glassware is washed and put away. All your solutions today can go down the sink. Solids go in the trash. Make sure they're not still on fire or anything like that. And then make sure your lab table and area is clean before you go. This has been the Mass and Change pre-lab video.